Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner, and an old pal of ours has returned. It is none other than Fabian Nicieza. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great, Andrew. How are you?
I'm really well, thanks. It's great to see you again, mate.
It is good to be seen and to see you. In
So
this
you've
world nowadays, I don't know how often we are both seen and seeing.
absolutely right. It is an eternal challenge, and you've had a very busy couple of weeks, right, mate? I know crisscrossing the USA at various conventions and what have you.
Yes, three conventions in 6 weeks, and two of them were West Coast based. So yes, it's been and no convention now until September, which I'm glad about. So
Oh, right.
it
So no San Diego for you, mate.
oh no, never, no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. San Diego, the District 9 of Artist Alley. No, no, thank you. I'm very anti San Diego
Yeah.
because of the way they
Well,
treat
well,
comics
I will
people.
be there representing for you, brother. Okay.
Appreciate it. You'll have a nice booth though, won't you?
Yeah, we will. Yeah,
You'll have a
that's
nice
exactly
Titan
right.
booth and display with a little bit of breathing room and the ability to get in and out without having
Yes.
to walk 7 miles behind other artists. No, 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 no.
I know it's so true. Bit of Conan here, bit of Blade Runner there, bit of Doctor Who maybe. Yeah, absolutely right. It is a very different experience. And once a year, I do walk through Artist Alley, run that gauntlet, if you will,
Yep.
and it is a gauntlet indeed. It takes
It
a lot of
is.
running.
It's just a little ugly, but at the very least, hoist one for me in the Gaslight District, and
You
we will
know, I
be
will.
okay.
That would be my pleasure, brother. So, speaking of eternal challenges, we on the horizon, we've had a great success with our partners at Heroic Signatures across the board with Conan over the last 2 years, and we're having a lot of success with the revitalization of Savage Sword of Conan, my favorite black and white magazine from when I was a kid.
Yep.
And on the horizon, soliciting now, is Savage Sword of Conan issue 9, which has been immeasurably enriched by having a large dose of Fabian Nicieza attached to it. So, mate, do you want to talk about what it is you're actually doing in Savage Sword 9?
I do, and let me tell you, you're spreading the hyperbole a little thin when you have a Neal Adams, painted cover, and you have a Patrick Zircher lead story that he wrote and penciled and inked, which looks gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah.
You're stretching it, but at the very least, I can say that I fulfilled a bit of a lifelong ambition in comics, and I got to write a Kull story. It was beautifully, cleanly, crisply drawn by Sean Chen, who's always been an excellent artist. One of his first sword and sorcery style stories ever, and I really wanted him because I really liked. I really thought he would handle Volusia and the whole city environment and the armor look I wanted to go for and all this stuff, and he pulled it off to a T. So I had pitched Heroic on a bunch of different short stories or Conan lead stories, and they really jumped in on the Cull. And I was very, very happy to do it. I've said online, and I said it to you pre-show, that I have hated Cull since I was 12 years old, so I really, really wanted the chance to write them. Um, and and that's because my first Cull issue was issue number 6. And I'd already gotten into Conan by then, and it wasn't Conan, and I was super like disappointed. I'm saying all of this with the caveat that I was 12 years old, so I was obviously quite a bit of an idiot. But John, Marie and John Severin's the writing was too spotty. It was all over the place. Too many different writers, and Marie and John Severin's art looked too much to me like Prince Valiant comic strip. You know, little did I know that's exactly what they were going for, but it wasn't. It didn't work for me at 12 years old when I was watching Barry Windsor Smith turn into. I was watching Barry Smith turn into Barry Windsor Smith, which to me is the evolution from good to great. And I was watching that in real time over in Conan. So it never hooked me. I read a bunch of it. It never jumped me until I read the mentioned John Bolton story in Bizarre Adventures, Demon in a Silver Glass. I bought the magazine when it was out on the racks because I saw it and I said, "Well, what's going on here?" You could tell right away. John Bolton. What? Let me look. And Doug Mensch, who I loved from Master Kung Fu, so I bought it and I go, "Okay, this is a little closer to what I would do." Presumptuous at that age, 16-year-old baby. so getting a chance to write it was really really fun. In 11 pages, I tried to um, detail backstory to him and foreshadow story down the road, because I always thought that Kull should be more than the adventure of the moment. Kull as a concept should be a king of a nation that should be the greatest nation on its continent, and despite the stupidity of the other nations around it in the continent, and combine that with a world that we all know as readers is headed toward cataclysm. So as a writer, I think it's far more interesting if the characters know, fear, or suspect that they are headed for a cataclysm, right? So the Kull I'm writing, and the story is narrated by Counselor Two, so he gives it a bit more of a flourishy perspective than Kull would. But the story I'm writing is about people who know that they have to change the way things are, and they know what a struggle that's going to be. So in 11 pages, I tried to get all of that in there, and still give poor Sean a little room to have some fun with the art.
That's brilliant, mate. I mean, when you were younger, at that point, were you? It's interesting when you encountered Cole and you didn't like the Severins like treatment of it, and I completely get that because they're both geniuses, of course. John Severin,
Absolutely.
one of my favorite artists of all time, but of course his real métier was World War II comics, grit. He was,
Westerns, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and you put him in that kind of. He's not a natural fit for sword and sorcery, is he? I think that's the issue.
Yeah, and
Well,
Marie was penciling the issues, and John was inking them, although
yeah.
John was doing the covers. And look, they made a conscious editorial choice, I think, to not have it look like Conan exactly. But based on the content of the time, the imagination expanse at the time, and frankly, the limited source material that they had available to them from Howard himself, they I think they made a conscious choice to kind of just um, soften some of the more fantastic elements of the visual landscape, and as a result, that softened the entire approach to the concept. And not the least of which is that I think the writer roundtable really hurt the entire premise as a comic book back then, because I think Cull is best served being West Wing, right? It's best served in long form narrative that allows you to unfold the problems that are happening politically, fantastically, militarily, all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's harder to do in a one and done or two-part story concept. And because you have multiple writers jumping in and out, you lose your threads because every writer wants to do something different. So crap, they had him they had him like exiled by issue 11. Changed the title of the book. Like clearly they were kind of grasping for straws a little bit because the first year wasn't selling well enough in comparison to Conan to make them be able to try to keep up with what they were doing. They knew they had to do something different. I mean, Mike Ploog came in and took over as the artist for a few issues, and he lost the throne by issue 12. They kept Redondo, the court jester minstrel guy. They kept him alive even though he died in the books. So it was I just like both at the time and in hindsight, having reread all of that stuff again in preparation of writing the story. I just sort of like it confirmed that 64-year-old Fabian had his 12-year-old Fabian confirmed a little bit.
I love it when that happens. I
Oh, it's
think,
great, isn't it? It just
yeah.
makes you feel so haughty and good about yourself. I was such a brilliant 12-year-old.
Well, mate, I really can't wait to read it. And as you say, it's a crackerjack issue. It's got an amazing cover, as you
Yeah,
said.
even the two
Amazing.
pinups are great.
Yeah,
The Jeff Fisherwood did one, and I don't know the other artist's name, but his name is a long Italian name, and the last part of it is Giordano, but he's
yeah.
got a prefix before it. So, but his art was excellent in it. He did a great pinup too. So, I mean, I look at the whole package, and I'm like, oh, the older you get, the more you've done it. You just want to look at the finished work and go, okay, yeah, that I'm glad to be a part of this, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to be a part of this whole.
Yeah, and I'm pleased that you feel that way, mate. And everybody who checks out this issue, which is available from the links attached to our conversation right here for pre-order, right here, you'll love it. It's a great issue, very very rich, but
But
not so. Yeah, carry on, mate. Sorry.
distribution's being spotty as it is right now. It was supposed to be on sale this week. As I'm recording this, I think it may be on sale next week. I don't
Yeah,
even know at this
yeah.
point. But it's going to be on the stand soon, and you can pre-order right there
Right
now.
on. Right. Absolutely right. I'm Fabian, before I let you go, I've got two other sword and sorcery related questions for you.
Yes, sir.
One is very specific, and I haven't prepared you for this, but I was thinking when we were emailing about having this conversation. Do you know a character that I think I would like to see me personally? You might hate this idea, and this is what I want to ask you. A character I would like to see you write that I think you'd do a great job with would be DC's The Warlord. Were you ever into that? The Mike Grell
No, I
book?
never was, and I like Grell a lot, but I
Yeah,
didn't get into it. It's interesting. Like, I'm not a huge sword and sorcery fan outside of Howard.
yeah,
I read Elric stuff, and Moorcock is Moorcock. He's great, but it never. Elric was always a bit of a cold fish to me, so he never really
yeah.
drew me in. I need a little emotion, and I often need anger out of my characters in order to draw me in because I see me in them then, you know. But Warlord never really drew me in, even though I was aware of it, very aware of it, and honestly respected the living hell out of Grell. That was a long run he had on
100
that.
issues. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
and I followed when Grell put out John Sable at First Comics. I bought that
Yeah,
from issue number
yeah.
one. It was
Me
so
too.
for me, it was always more subject matter than anything else. But it would be interesting to now. It would be interesting to do something like that, something different like that. You know, it's just I think I mean DC. There was a great fire out in California, I heard, and I think DC lost my contact number in the fire.
We've got to somehow get that contact number
If
back
only it seems it's all ashes now.
to do. And my parting sword and sorcery shot was: do you have any sword and sorcery movies that you like? And my question is: are there any actually? Are there any good sword and sorcery movies?
I don't know. I recently I can't even remember. I mean, I actually didn't mind the Momoa Conan movie. I look at these. I look at almost all sword and sorcery movies as B level and C
Yeah,
level movie productions. And as a result, I was fine with the Momoa one, and I like the original two Conan movies. The first one, obviously, more than the second. I didn't like Red Sonja. I didn't like many of those 80s, Beastmaster and all the kind of schlocky, low level movies that you can watch
yeah.
almost all of them on Amazon or Tubi now. So I honestly can't off the top of my head think of from a genre standpoint. There are non-genre standpoints that are like historical films that have touches of that to a certain extent, like Braveheart and stuff like that. There's a little bit of that Howard sort of milieu in those movies. But I don't know that anyone's truly nailed the sword and sorcery angle to it, and I may not be recalling some that have, and I just it's not coming to mind like quickly. I would love to see a big time director take on something like that. I would like to see someone with a strong creative vision, not just Conan, not even just Robert E. Howard, just the genre in general. I would like to see someone try to take that on. But I don't know. I don't know for sure whether that genre plays as well to a mass audience. And films need to play to a mass audience nowadays to be financial successes, if not creative ones.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. I mean, I think the John Milius Conan, that kind of stands alone as a really credible attempt.
Yeah.
It's not 100% successful itself, but it's a
No, no,
credible
not at
attempt
all.
to
Even
do.
when I was watching it, I didn't think it was 100%
No.
successful in the theater, at when it originally came out, but I at least respected that they respected what they were doing, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
I honestly think one of the weakest parts of that whole movie was Arnold because he just wasn't ready from an acting
Yeah.
standpoint to do that, you know.
I think that's very perceptive. If they got him 15 years later when he could
I
actually
think he would
deliver a
have
performance, yeah.
yes, he would have been more comfortable on screen. He would have a little more facile with the English language, you know.
Yeah.
It would have helped because sometimes if even in the theaters we were chuckling when we shouldn't have been chuckling because
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
he was a little stiffer than his own broadsword.
Well, have you ever seen that that film? Oh, God, it's directed by the guy who directed all the Burt Reynolds films, Smoking the Bandit, all of that. Used to be a stuntman. He was Burt Reynolds' best mate. His name will come to me in a second.
Hal Needham.
Hal Needham, yes, very good, mate. Hal Needham. It's a Hal Needham film that in the UK was called Cactus Jack. In the US, it was called The Villain, and it stars Kirk Douglas. Have you ever seen
No,
this film? It is
no.
absolutely fascinating, and
Hold
so
on, I'm actually writing a note right now to remember that and see where if I can find it streaming anywhere.
you absolutely should be able to. It's either called The
So,
Villain or Cactus Jack, and what it is um, Kirk Douglas at his overacting best plays a kind of Black Bart style villain who is trying to stop a young maiden played by a very voluptuous Anne Margaret, yeah, uh, in her trek across the states for some reason I can't remember, but her kind of bodyguard figure is a guy called Handsome Stranger, and Handsome Stranger is played by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
okay,
And so before Conan. Now the
yeah.
interesting thing about this is what it is essentially a live action Roadrunner cartoon. So the whole kind of MacGuffin is Cactus Jack, aka the villain, keeps on trying to stop them with various schemes that go horribly wrong. Yeah, and so it's quite a good conceit. It would be a much more successful film if the handsome stranger was played by anyone other than Arnold
Other than Arnold
Schwarzenegger at that point,
Schwarzenegger.
because he literally cannot act or enunciate properly at this point. And his kind of non-performance, essentially, the only reason it doesn't kill the film is because Kirk Douglas is overacting so wildly.
To compensate. So
Yeah, yeah,
he's trying to double act
right on.
to make up
But
for the acting void.
exactly right.
You had me at overacting Kirk Douglas.
Yeah.
You didn't even need to go voluptuous and Margaret, much less handsome stranger Arnold. They should have just been smart and named him Silent Stranger, and he just
Yeah,
could have not said anything for the whole
exactly.
movie, right? All
Austrian
right,
stranger says
I'm gonna look
nothing.
that one up and
Yeah.
see if it's streaming anywhere. That'll
Let
be
let
good.
me know what you think. The next time we hang out, let me know what you think because it is
It is a plan.
batshit crazy film. And on that note, let's segue back to the world of Robert E. Howard. And I can't wait to read Kull in Savage Sword of Conan issue 9. But also, you've got some really other interesting projects on the go and bubbling under. You've got your Image series with Kurt Busiek,
Yep.
the Free Agents, and
Yep.
also your new novel, which I know you're writing at the moment, The Sin Puppet. So how about coming back on in the near future and we'll have a
It
chat
sounds like
about
an
both of
absolute
those?
plan. And before you even go, we can pre pimp. I have a prose Bran McMorn story in Savage Sword of Conan number 11, which will be
Brilliant.
out in the fall.
Yeah.
So it's just a prose story. There's no pretty pictures, although I think Tom Rainey is actually doing an illustration. So there will be
There
a
you go.
pretty picture. I take that back. And that's coming out later this year. That keeps me in the world of Robert E. Howard just a little bit longer. But I'd be glad to come back and talk about the other stuff that's percolating right now.
Brilliant, mate. So both of those issues of Savage Sword of Conan are available for pre-order from Forbidden Planet. And Fabe, I'll
Right
see you
there.
very soon, mate. All right.
I'll see you soon. Take
Take
care.
care. If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.